Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Thursday. It's been a hot minute. I have not been online. Actually, I haven't been really on any social media for a good amount of time. So as you guys know, I have done a bunch of traveling. So I'm going to catch you up. This video is going to be a chatty video where I catch you up on what's going on in my life, what I've been up to, share some books that I bought on Independent Bookstore Day, and share with you guys what I have been reading. I've missed you guys. I have missed all of my BookTube friends. I've missed Twitter and Instagram. I've missed all of it. I have just not had a free moment. So as you guys know, the Sunday, which was Easter Sunday, I actually got in my car, Dan and I and our kids, the 3 dogs, and we drove from here to my parents' house in Eugene, Oregon. It takes about 9.5 hours total. It was the first time we have ever brought our dogs to my parents' house, so that was an adventure in and of itself. My parents were great. Berkeley did everything in his power to make sure that everybody spent a moment with him sleeping on them and make sure that they love him. The great thing about my parents' house that I don't have here is they have a ginormous backyard that they share with my brother and sister-in-law. And I've told you guys before, I live on the 4th story of a condo complex. They do not get a yard. So they were ecstatic to run and play all day long. They were exhausted. I did work while I was there in our local Eugene office, which was fun. Nice people, really great time. But every day after work, I would go and pick up my grandma from her house and take her to my parents, and we would be able to spend the time together. And we just chatted and talked and caught up. And then on Friday, we went to my nephew's sort of bingo / pizza fundraiser party for his school, which was fun. And we bought enough raffle tickets to put into the basket that he won the raffle for the basket he wanted, which was very exciting. It got us super duper bonus uncle points. And it was just a great time. It was a lot of family and it was a lot of fun. And but then I got back Sunday night. Monday I worked, and then Tuesday by 4:30 I was on the road, and I've been on the road until today. So there you go. There's my life, and that's why we haven't chatted a whole lot. But I did get to celebrate Independent Bookstore Day. I luckily had the opportunity to drive to Corvallis, Oregon, which is about an hour north of where my parents live, and go to the bookstore, the Book Bin. At the Book Bin, I met the amazing Kate Hope Day, whose novel, If Then, I have raved about on my channel. I got to hear her speak and talk about it, and also get my copy signed. I bought my copy finally. I was waiting so that I could do it when I met her. And you know, I meet and talk to a lot of authors online, and when I meet them in person, and they're just as amazing in person, Kate Hope Day, Chloe Benjamin, Lenny Zumas, just to name, Sara Winman, just to name a few of the fabulous authors that I've met in person that have just been great. Kate Hope Day was fantastic. As you guys know, this story is the story of a small town in Oregon where 3 neighbors on a cul-de-sac all of a sudden start to experience the same phenomena where they are able to see alternate realities. And what this does is it causes them to sort of second guess what the choices that they made in life, and also the choices that they're going to make in the future. What is fantastic is every character slightly reacts differently to the situation, so we get many different perspectives. And also, what I really liked is hearing Kate and how she talked about how this book came into being, how her own life plays into it. She had just moved to Oregon when she started writing this book, so it has sort of that homage to the new place that she was living. Ginny, who is one of the main characters, is a surgeon. Her husband is also a surgeon, so it's kind of cool. I met him. He was really, really kind. So it was really, really nice. And I highly recommend if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, please pick it up. And she was nice enough to also give me this tote bag for her book. Isn't this just great? So I scored. Can't really complain anything about it. I was also doing some book shopping, as I should, right? Independent bookstores, what would we do without them? I don't know. And I picked up 2 books that I had already read in their ARC renditions, but of course I had to get my own copies. One was Women Talking by Miriam Toews. Now, you guys know I absolutely adored this book. And on Independent Bookstore Day, Independent Bookstores had this amazing special edition red cover. The normal cover is blue, so of course I had to pick up the red cover. I just absolutely love it. This is the story of 8 Mennonite women and their conversations and discussions on what they're going to do with their life and faith after it is determined that a group of men in their community have been drugging the females and sexually assaulting them while they are drugged. And this group of women is trying to decide what to do next. I have raved about this book. So many people have raved about this book. This book is freaking fantastic. So please go read it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. So, so good. I also had to pick up my favorite book of last year or this year. I don't know. Probably my favorite book of all time. And that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I'm holding the cover a little closer because the ARC version of the US cover had a very different cover than this, and people weren't loving it. But then this came out and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I'm not going to talk about this book too much more because I absolutely, absolutely have talked about it ad nauseum. But I will say that Sally Rooney has quickly become one of my favorite writers of all time, and Normal People is probably in my top 2 favorite books of all time. So I'm so excited to get to put this on my shelf over here where I keep my favorite books of all time, which was where also Miriam Toews is going to go. I did pick up 2 books that I have not read yet. The book bin had a fantastic science fiction fantasy section and had so many Tor novellas. It was hard to choose, but I did pick one, and that is God's Monsters and the Lucky Peach by Kelly Robson. Just take a moment and look at that amazing cover. So this is set in 2267 Earth years. Earth has just survived and sort of is coming out of an ecological disaster. Min is our main character, and she is one of the first people that has come from underground back to the surface to work on getting it ready for humans to habitate. That's probably wrong. That sounds wrong coming out of my mouth. She focuses on river restoration and redoing those ecosystems. And at this time, time travel becomes part of the society, and it is invented, and she gets the opportunity to go back in time to study the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. But it also gives her an opportunity to investigate into the people who have created the time travel. That sounds great. Now, you guys know I very rarely sort of read books to you, but I was trying to decide which ones I was going to read. I'm going to read you the first couple sections of this book, just because this is why I bought it. Section 1. The monster looked like an old grandmother from the waist up, but it had 6 long octopus legs. It crawled out of its broken egg and cowered in the muddy drainage ditch. When it noticed Sulji, its jaw fell open, exposing teeth too perfect to be human. It recoiled and hissed. Oh shit. Sulji hefted his flail in one hand and his scythe in the other. He knew his duty better than anyone other than the gods. Kings were made for killing monsters. I was sold. So that is God's Monsters and the Lucky Peach by Kelly Robson, out from Tor. Super excited to get my hands on that one. I also picked up this book, which is Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. I have wanted to read this ever since I read a blurb about it in Publishers Weekly, I think, before it came out. I think this book sounds amazing. Set in the 1980s somewhere in America. It's set in a performing arts school. We are in the acting division, and we have 2 of the main players, David and Sara, who fall in love, but it doesn't go unnoticed. Of course it doesn't, because in high school, things like that do not go unnoticed, but it doesn't go unnoticed by not only the students, but also by the sort of fan favorite, charismatic acting teacher. Now, I'm going to read this section to you because I think the way that it is blurbed is just brilliant. It says, the outside world of family life and economic status, of academic pressure, and of the future adult lives fails to penetrate this school's walls until it does, in a shocking spiral of events that catapults the action forward in time and flips the premise upside down. What the reader believes to have happened to David and Sara and their friends is not entirely true, though it's not false either. It takes until the book's stunning coda for the final piece of the puzzle to fall into place, revealing truths that will resonate long after the final sentence. That is Trust Exercise by Susan Choi, and it sounds freaking amazing. So I also have been doing some reading. I haven't gotten a lot of reading done. I'm kind of dipping in and out of a couple things. Because when you travel and you're busy with family, sometimes it's hard to find time to read, especially when I was working. I wasn't exactly on vacation, so I couldn't slip in reading like during the day. I was actually working. But I do want to tell you about 3 books that I am currently in the process of reading. Two of them come out in the month of May, and one of them has been out for some time. So let's start with the one that has been out for some time and probably needs little to no introduction, and that is Milkman by Anna Burns. Now, this won the Man Booker Prize last year. It also is up for the Women's Prize. It's one of the final on the short list there. Anna Burns is an Irish writer. She's from Belfast, Northern Ireland. This is the story of middle sister and sort of this, I don't even know how to explain it, but basically what happens is she attracts the attention of a man named Milkman, and this starts to change the perspective of her within her community. She starts to become noticed, and the worst thing that can happen in her community is to be noticed. It is best to fly under the radar. What I think is brilliant is there's this premise. So our main character, middle sister, no one has any names, which I think is also quite brilliant. She is known to walk and read, and this seems to be a real thorn in the side of her community, and it sort of causes her to be talked about in a lot of ways. And there is so much in this book. It deals with sort of the dual religious issues of Ireland. It also deals with the people who are for the state and the people who are sort of, they call themselves the renouncers, I believe. The renouncers. I'm like halfway through it. I'm learning a lot. And also I need to also Google a lot of Irish history, which I've been sort of doing. This book is stylistically super duper challenging. I know people say, oh, it's hard to read. Some people say it's super easy to read. It is pages of text, pages and pages of text. It's sort of in a stream of consciousness manner, but it has a little more clarity than that. But basically we are in the mind of middle sister, and we just really learn as everything's going on around her. We learn history, we learn politics, we learn societal things. We also learn about her relationships, what she wants. She is such a fascinating woman because you don't know if you quite ever grasp who or what she's about. I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. I'm sure that can come to fruition. But Anna Burns has really done something special here. I wasn't sure that this book was going to be for me, but I am totally, utterly bought in. So that is Milkman by Anna Burns. The two books that I'm reading that come out this month, in the month of May. The first is Lanny by Max Porter. This comes out in America from Grey Wolf Press. I want to say May 6th, so it may come out Monday. It's in the beginning of May. Lanny is an interesting book. So Lanny is a young boy who is artistically special. His parents take care of him, and he is taking art lessons from sort of a very famous author who has sort of turned into this reclusive, slightly oddball in the community. And we're learning about it's sort of told from the perspective of his art teacher and his parents. But also there is a character who is this sort of folkloric character called Papa Tooth. I got to get the right name. Dead Papa Toothwort, who is sort of like the community spirit who has been there through the evolution of the community. And he has a fascination himself with Lanny. Now, if you read Max Porter's first book, Grief is a Thing with Feathers, you know that his work is stylistically different. It's poetic. He's almost like a poet that writes poetry prose. He does some stuff that is really cool. It's also got sort of this fabulistic feel to it as well, but you're also like sort of learning about and falling in love with Lanny as we go through this story. There's also the dynamics of the parents' relationships, their dynamics within the community, also what Lanny is doing for the teacher who teaches him art. Yeah, it is beautiful, but it's also one of those books that I feel you cannot fly through because you could lose some of the language and the sophistication. So I'm really taking my time and enjoying what Max Porter has done here. So far, highly recommend Lanny. I think if it keeps going the way it is, I think it will be on my top 10 reads of the year. And it comes out this month from Grey Wolf Press. Thank you so much, Grey Wolf Press. They actually sent me this final copy, and it is gorgeous, and I'm totally about it. I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see the cover. Hopefully you can see. Can you see the eye? And you can see the community, and you can see the leaves and how they did that. Oh, brilliant cover work. Brilliant. And the other, the last book that I'm reading, look at me reading 3 books at one time, is The Confessions of Frannie Langton by Sara Collins. This comes out in May as well. I want to say it comes out in middle of May, I think. And this is the story of Frannie Langton. This is set in the 1800s. Basically what we start off with the fact that Lanny Langton is actually on trial for the murder of her bosses. She is a servant to this man and this woman. He is a scientist of some renown, and his wife, she seems to be rather an enigmatic character. They have been found stabbed to death, and Frannie is the main suspect. She is on trial for their murder. What has happened is she has been asked to write her story by a man. I'm not to the point where I exactly know how he fits in the story, but she starts to tell her life story, which started in the 1800s on a plantation in Jamaica, where she is actually born a slave, and her relationship with the slave owner and his wife, and how she winds up in London, and how she winds up getting to the point where she's accused for murder. This book is beautiful historical fiction. It has got a great story. It's like a historical fiction thriller, but you're also really getting to know Frannie as a character. She is fully developed, sophisticated, interesting. She is taught to read by the wife of the plantation owner in Jamaica, which makes her unique. And she's so smart, but she also has to deal with race in 1800s London is something different than how she was treated in 1800s Jamaica. And something happens. I don't want to give it away, but her station changes once she gets to London. And I'm about, I don't know, how far am I into this? I'm over 100 pages in, and I am adoring it. Again, I'm taking it slow because all 3 of these books are books that challenge you as a reader to really appreciate how brilliant the writing is. So I am loving. And that's The Confessions of Frannie Langton by Sara Collins. I want to thank Harper. They sent me an early copy of this. I will be picking up this when it comes out. You should too. If you are historical fiction, if you like thrillers, this book is going to be for you. So that's my video for today. You guys are going to get a couple videos in a row from me to make up for being gone. But I hope that you liked this chatty little video. Got a little catch up. Got to see what I bought. Got to see what I'm reading. What are you guys up to? What are you reading? What have you bought? What did you get on Independent Bookstore Day? Tell me all about it. I cannot wait. As always, if you're a return subscriber, thank you so much. I cannot do this without you. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you like this. And until next time, I wish you happy reading, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye!